What's going on YouTube? Mike here again, another video all about Hondas, guys. As you know, I've been out of the YouTube game for a while. I actually don't watch a lot of YouTube videos. You know, I am a father of 3, so I watch a lot of Blippi. But recently I've been going on YouTube and kind of seeing the progression of the Honda community and the car scene. I saw a build similar to mine and it caught my eye just because I own the same Civic. I'm talking about none other than Donut Media and their awesome $500 Civic that they picked up out in California versus a $50,000 new Civic Type R. And specifically, this one caught my eye because obviously I did something similar, but the cheap version. And they went out and dropped $50,000 on a EG Civic, a green EG Civic that they got. And one of my YouTube subscribers gifted me with the same Civic in the same color, but mine is H22 swapped and mine was hooked up. It has had its fair share of damage and I haven't really released any footage about that car. I don't even have a name for the car. I will be debuting that car and kind of some of the stuff that I did over the past years. I have been tracking it. It's a great car, but this Donut Media Civic really caught my eye just because they spent such a large amount, $50,000. And I kind of want to see the progression. I want to see the progression of where they invested the money, what they were able to do, how fast they got it, how much horsepower, all the nerdy car stuff. I really like Donut Media. Donut Media is really cool. Donut Media is like if Hollywood were to make like a car enthusiast. They're like actors, like professional actors, the Hollywood movie of car guys. So I'm going to get into it. I want to kind of see their build. So yeah, let's get into it.
A 1995 Civic hatchback, also known as the EG. It has the lowest trim option available, CX. Just a manual transmission paired to a 70 horsepower engine.
This is funny. I own the exact same car, but it is eerie. And this is kind of what drew me into this build specifically because I own that car in that color and that model of car. So what are the odds, right? What are the odds? This is awesome. Look at that drone footage. This is hilarious. This is hilarious because I went to the same racetrack with my EG that my subscriber gave to me. It is just like surreal to watch that car here. Like I said, I did something similar to a EG Civic build with my old build. It was an old EG Civic build that I did that a customer sold to me for $1,100, which was like over a decade ago. And we put a turbo eBay kit. So I spent like $1,500. So I went the opposite way. Of course, Donut Media has large amounts of money and they went $50,000 into a $500 Civic. I didn't have that money. I put $1,500 into my Civic and kind of see what I was able to do with that small amount of money. So this is awesome.
More rigid suspension and a racing seat would make it feel like a whole new car. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Give it all. Get across the line.
Best lap time 158. Dude, I wasn't able to. I wish I would have recorded my Civic. Obviously, I took my Civic out to the track and I ran into a whole bunch of problems. I didn't know things were broken with that H22. There were so many things wrong with it, but I didn't record my best lap time with it, which is a 158 with the stock one. I'm curious just because, you know, since I own the same Civic, I really want to see if I'm able to maybe compete, maybe in the future. Maybe there's a, you know, Donut Media versus Diymike Civic build. Right. Guys, if you are a Honda fan, if you are a Honda owner, I have a great company for you, which is my own company, my own website, battlebornspeedshop.com, guys. I've sold over 250,000 items. My website is direct to you guys now and offering that service. battlebornspeedshop.com, guys. Links down below in the description. Please support me, the channel, my family, my children. I would appreciate it so much. Thank you. But this is a fun build, guys. Fun. It says we put $4,000 suspension on our $500 Civic.
And it's got 4 wet trash bags for suspension. So today we're going to be installing $4,000 worth of suspension upgrades on our $500 Civic.
And they're going to drop $4,000 of suspension in a Civic. Yeah, I did the same thing. like I said, I have a white Civic and I have a new EG Civic currently, and I built that into a time attack car. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars in my Civic. So this is like, I'm curious.
So first, let's look at some bushings that we know are bad. We could tell that our upper control arm bushings were pretty whooped, so let's shake them around and see what they look like. And you can see we've got a lot of play there, but I think...
So specifically, if the Honda's not clapped out or it hasn't been modified before, people will rarely ever change anything on the car. It's so cheap that they won't, like, it's not worth it to them to invest that amount of money in getting like new suspension, new bushings. They're not going to do it because the car is so cheap. You know, when these came out, you know, they're in the teens, you know, like, you know, $15,000. No one ever changes this stuff. So looking at the condition of the car, seeing that it has a stock engine and stock everything, like, those are unicorn these days. $500. So this thing is $500 in Cali. In the East Coast, this was like gold. They'd be paying a couple grand for this thing just because it's like, quote unquote, like unmodified, all stock, no rust. Like, this is gold in the East Coast because they have rust, they have salt, they have winters, and then all the bolts come out easy. So this is kind of, yeah, I have the same thing. So I particularly like stock cars because I don't want them modified. I don't like people cutting stuff, chasing ghost problems that someone else did, or they put the wrong thing in there. You think everything is where it should be, and it isn't. So that's why I don't like to take on project cars. I don't like to take on someone else's project. I don't like to take on someone else's problem because you don't know what's been done to it. I've learned over the years, if you want to modify a Civic, get one that's completely stock. Or do not go and get another person's project. It's going to drive you insane.
These are Feel 441s. These are basically Feel's entry-level coilover. They're damping adjustable 30 ways, but it's one-way adjustment, so rebound and compression is tied together.
Yeah, I'm curious. I haven't really heard about this suspension before. They kind of went with the mid-grade suspension. I don't know, it's probably a newer company. This looks like a cool setup. They could have spent more. Like, specifically, if you're going to go on a track car and you're trying to get a lap time, you would want a better suspension. You want to spend the most amount of money on your suspension. And it looks like to me, I'm looking at the list of things that they put in the car. They invested a lot of money into like the interior, but they could have, if they really wanted to, right? They could invest for a more expensive suspension, whether it be KWs or JRZs. Real quick, I'm going to give you an example of something that's upwards of $4,000 just in a coilover, really quick. So this is an example of about $4,000. So you get like custom springs, helper spring, and top hat. So a spherical top hat. And yeah, so this is a example of a $4,000 setup. I mean, you know, they're racing. They're racing a new gen Civic Type R, which has like, it broke like front wheel drive records. It has turbo, and you know, 50 grand. I'm just curious of what they really spent 50 grand on, because it seems like they were trying to make the car as good as the new Civic Type R, and I would have went with something a little bit more, better. You know what I mean? Tune in the suspension in order to kind of beat the lap times in that.
Or with spherical bushings like we're going to be using. So we just got these. They're nicely powder coated, and they come with spherical bushings already installed. And basically that's just a big metal ball in a housing, which allows for rotation and angular movement so that these can move with your suspension like they need to.
Okay, spherical bushings. I did the exact same thing in my Civic. I replaced everything with spherical bushings. It is a nightmare. Okay. If you want to do any type of street racing, okay, like any type of like street driving, it feels horrendous. Okay. Like the car has no give. It is not the business. Yeah. You want to help it a lot. You want to help it a lot because you are going against like the newer Type R, right? But the newer Type R ain't going to have spherical bushings. It's probably pretty comfortable. So them replacing everything with Megan Racing, spherical bushings, You can get stuff like Skunk 2 as well. I'm going to have links all down below just so that you guys can, if you guys wanted to copy something like this, I'm going to give you the parts that are easily off the shelf so that you can pick and be like, hey, I want to have something like this. But fair warning, spherical bushings, horrendous. It has a no give. It's like you're driving a go-kart basically, and your body is the suspension. So what you're going to find out with this unibody Civic, and like the subframe and all this stuff, the moment you start putting solid stuff on the chassis, and this chassis is like paper thin. These Civics, they're not made out of thick gauge sheet metal. You're going to rip a lot of things. So if you look at the Integra Type R, like the older gen ones, they stitch welded them because, there's a lot of flex because the rubber, it's going to act as a shock absorber for the chassis. So now all the vibration and everything and twists and turns is going to go through the chassis. You can rip a lot of stuff up. You're going to repair a lot of stuff. Fair warning for anyone that wants to do this. But if you're making a track only car, it's cool. But it looks to me like this is like a California, like on the street and stuff like that. Just a fair warning. Horrendous. So suspension wise, if you want to beat a Civic Type R, new gen, you can do what they did as far as getting spherical. Polyurethane is a very cheap alternative, guys. It's a cheap alternative, but it involves a lot of work. So if you get like a Prothane or Energy Suspension Master Kits, I'll have links down below. These things will make your car perform very well, and they're somewhat treatable. You're going to get more vibration. They don't break down as easy as a rubber. There's less dampening effect because of rubber, and the durometer of it is it's a little bit harder, but it's going to do a great job. It's the good walk around in between, guys. So if you guys want something that handles great, that gives less deflection, you can go with the polyurethane kit. It does make noise though. So when you start to go over bumps, or you start to do like you push down the car, you can hear this squeak. This little squeak, you know what I mean? And if you go to spherical stuff too, you'll hear like metal on metal contact and then sound. But rubber on the other end, it's that friendly thing. So if you guys are familiar with Mugen, they sell like harder rubber bushings that, has that in between best of both worlds before you go into polyurethane. But polyurethane kits it's a nightmare to replace, guys. You have to take all your suspension, blowtorch all the rubber off, hacksaw it, very messy, a lot of labor intensive, but great. Your car's going to be handling great with a polyurethane kit. On to the next $5,000 brake kit on a $500 Civic.
This is our $500 Civic, and today we're going to be putting $5,000 worth of brakes on it. Is $5,000 worth of brakes really going to be worth the money? Ooh.
Okay, they went with Spoon monoblock coilovers. There's nothing wrong with Spoon. What I would say is that when you go with the Spoon caliper, typically they're made to work with stock rotors or stock diameter rotors. You're going to find that if you went with a bigger rotor, you're going to have better stopping power, basically. Calipers help equalize the pressure within both ends. Obviously, if you have a stock one, you just have one of the pistons on one side and then it sandwiches. I went with, instead of going with this stock setup, because they spent $5,000, they could have got a big brake kit, right? With a big brake kit, you're going to have to get different rims and stuff like that. If you want a cost-effective way, instead of going with a Spoon setup, you can go with a Type R brake kit. So instead, what I did was I took a 5-lub from an Integra Type R. So Integra Type R, the system, the rear and front brakes, are going to be better because the car is heavier. An Integra chassis is heavier than a CX. CX is so light, right? You don't really need to overkill on the brakes. I get it, but my thought was, hey, here's the racing version of this kit on a heavier chassis. Now I'm going to put it on a lighter chassis, and the brakes were fantastic. So yes, they went, with that JDM price tag, that JDM spoon money price tag. You know what I'm saying?
Getting all hot and bothered. Anyways, while I work on the brakes, Shop Daddy Adam is going to replace the master cylinder.
There it is. This is the old brake master cylinder, and all this does is just send the fluid front and back when you press on the brake.
Okay, they did something very, very cool, very much needed. Was they changed the master cylinder? What you guys can do is look for, and what I did is you can either do an Integra one, or you can do one from a Civic EX, like 1991. It's like a 15/16 inch one. You won't have to bend any brake lines, and it helps deliver more fluid because these, you know, they're not just a small piston anymore. You're upgrading the calipers that need more fluid. So you don't change that. You're going to have to press the pedal down more to deliver more fluid to make it stop. So just letting you guys know.
So we replaced the drums with the disc for a couple reasons. We save a little bit of weight, and we get a lot better braking. Coupled with the front brakes, this thing is going to be a
Great. I'm glad to see it. They changed the front and the rears. Drum brakes are horrendous. If you ever change out the springs on that sucker, they freaking fly out of there. So changing brake pads is a lot easier. Drums are just like, I guess, easier to make, manufacture. Get rid of drums, guys.
Want a little bit more juice to go to the rear. So this proportioning valve is from an Integra, and it's from a car that had disc brakes to begin with. So
good. Proportioning valve. They should get a 40/40 proportioning valve. I don't know. The Integra ones, it might be like a 40/30. I don't think they need a 40/40. So I got to double check to make sure that they got the correct one. It's something that you want to mimic as well. But proportion, make sure that the front brakes is going to get, you know, the delivery of fluid between the rears and the front. Very, very important. So they put a 30/30 proportioning valve. That's not going to really do the job. It's not the correct one that you would want. So like the SI models are going to use a 40/40, and they're harder to get now just because they're not made anymore. And they go for a lot of money on eBay and stuff like that. Like I said, those are kind of gold right now for people that want to do like brake upgrades. This is my favorite part. I wanted to see the engine, and you know, you're going to need a lot to go against the new Civic Type R. So I'm curious of what they do here.
But guess what? It's still slow as heck.
We all seen this one before.
That's right, Jimmy. This is the legendary K20A.
This is awesome. K20A, JDM, K20. Good choice. Obviously, I would have went with something different, just because of how much, you know, as far as like getting this engine from like a JDM like place in Cali, you know, if you don't want to do any internal work, you can just drop this in and do bolt-ons. There's a lot of better things that you could do, because I'm looking at price point. So for me, selling parts to people, as you know, I help like thousands of people purchase things and help guide them with their build. You know, you want horsepower per dollar, right? And unless you're like a JDM fanatic and stuff, and you want to spend the money on a K20, like that's a lot of money, especially the transmission. You're going to be dropping upwards of like $5,000 just on the engine alone, like a swap kit on the engine alone. But
K20A produces 215 horsepower and has a red line of 8,600 RPMs from the factory. And since it was just sitting around collecting dust, I decided to throw it in this old thing.
I mean, you're kind of outgunned. I mean, I want to be honest with you. If they're probably going to put bolt-ons on this thing, but you're going against a forced induction Civic Type R. I'm curious of what they're going to do to this K20. I mean, it's pretty stout as it is. Track cars are more about, you know, maintaining that speed. And when you're up there, you know, you don't need all the horsepower in the world. You don't need like 800 horsepower on a, you know, to do a road course or anything like that. But I'm curious of what they're going to do to this. And there are cheaper options for the amount of money. So like, for example, like I'm looking at this and like, dude, you spent $50,000. What would I do in this situation? Like, how much would I spend in order to get that price point? Does that make sense? Like, I'm almost like intrigued, you know, to go to, take my Civic and try to break this time with less money. Because, you know, I don't have donut media money like that. Jeez. 0 to 60, man, rough. I had a CX too. I did the same thing with my Civic, and we went on the freeway with my buddy Dixon, and we did like a quarter mile. I think I did like a quarter mile, like 21, 22 seconds. This had like way crappier apps, and I wish I would have had like the camera angles again to see and to record how fast we did it in. But yeah, super slow, super beat, hundreds of thousands of miles on the engine. Curious.
We are going to upgrade the clutch for a little more holding power, a little more robustness.
Is that the bolts? Is that the pressure plate bolts that go onto, I'm going to see that again. That look like some Ace Hardware fasteners. I wouldn't trust those. I'm just saying, I'm from a person that sells this type of stuff. They use a different hardware, like a 12-point hardened fastener. I sell ARPs for K-Series. This is a warning to anyone in the automotive field. I never put like Ace Hardware on anything that spins thousands of rotations per minute. Anything has RPM or vibration or whatever, or heats up, right? Those are special bolts. So from factory, guys. So when I see this and I'm like, I don't know if that clutch kit is like ACT. They ain't going, I don't know. You feel me? Like they don't include that in the kit. If I were to, I mean, I would probably put like some Loctite or whatever like that, but those just look like grade 8, hopefully they're at least grade 10 bolts. But I do sell these, by the way. So if you ever decide to put, new clutch in, get good hardware because it spins like really, really fast.
I think we're both believers, but seeing the engine in the engine bay is a big step. Okay, so for our cooling system, we're going to be upgrading that to match our new K-Series engine.
This is great. Very similar to my Time Attack build. Thick radiator, full core. Usually Civics come with like a half one. You're going to need that, especially when you're tracking your car for, you're driving it like balls out for like full throttle, right? For a couple minutes. Hotsport, yeah, quality mounts. What's that? Hybrid. Hybrid makes great products. I'm glad they went with an American company. I would have chose a different header though. I would have chose a different header. I would have chose something a little bit better. Like they really like to breathe. I'm curious if they're going to do like a dyno session or whatever like that.
There you have it. 208 horsepower, 157 torque. I'll take that.
Interesting. So I'm saying the dyno for the first time, you could have got better parts. I'm just saying, like, I would have went with different things as far as like the header or the exhaust are concerned. If I remember correctly, yeah, my K20 Z3 made more horsepower. And it's like the price of a Z3 versus the price of like a JDM K20 is like night and day. You know what I mean? With the Z3, you still get LSD too if you get the transmission and stuff like that. So instead of like buying a JDM engine from like H Motors or something like that, just went and picked up like a 2007 SI sedan that got wrecked and the motor was fine. So took the engine, took the transmission, the axles and everything and just threw it into my Time Attack Civic. But you're going to need a lot to beat a new Civic Type R. So
That is right in between our guesses. I'm super happy with that. The motor stayed intact. Danny had an unrivaled kill to tune. I won't be able to make it to the track, but Zach, have fun with it.
We are back at Streets of Willow with the Civic.
cause like Donut, when I watch their stuff, like they're just so enthusiastic, they're like I said, it's like Hollywood. They're like, yeah, 208, blah, 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 blah. I'd be worried. Like I have to compete with a new Civic Type R. They got more horsepower than me. I mean, if this was like a competition, you'd have to really do a better job. You know what I'm saying? Just because I don't really think that's going to be enough horsepower, to be honest with you.
This thing is fun. 128.45 that time. So took half a second off. Good improvement. All right. All
right. So took it around the track. Did great. A lot faster. Yeah, man. If you guys have a K20 in your EG, EK, Integra is such a cheat code because like even having like 200 horsepower was like crazy because, you know, if you had like a B16 or a GSR, you can get a B series in the 200 horsepower range. 250 was like really pushing it. You know, you have to do really a lot of internal work. But like I said, for the amount of money that they spent, like they went crazy with the suspension, like spherical bushings, right? And coilovers and the engine, $10,000. I mean, that's close to like 4-piston engine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's equivalent. I mean, I know it's just a long block and you had to get all the accessories or whatever like that, but money could have been spent else, like better, somewhere. Like I would have strategically put the money on certain places and took away money from certain places. It's kind of like, you know, when you play like NBA, like a NBA, like Madden, and you can kind of like increase one thing or like, you know, take that out, put more here, put more here. I would have just did the sliders a little bit different on the Civic. Cause like, you give me 50 grand, I'm destroying a new Civic. You know what I mean? Like I am taking it out. I'll take out a lot of cars on $50,000 on a Civic, EG Civic. Okay, I'm skipping the interior stuff. It looks like they're doing cars. Like I'm not really like, I'm like a performance-based type of person. So I want to see this one with the intake.
More power at higher end. We're also going to be doing upgraded valve springs.
Okay, I'm curious. So now, $5,000 intake. They have Drag Cartel, which is good. Good company. I would have went with a different company like Skunk 2 or something like that. And I'm curious how much horsepower they're going to extract.
If you're at those high revs, it floats, like you said.
Exactly.
So you need a stronger spring to push it back into place.
That's right. And then you can get into those crazy 10,000 RPM numbers. Wow.
So, looks like they're going with a Super Tech kit. I have sold hundreds of these kits, guys. So links down below on my kit. They're saying that they can rev to 9,000 RPM. This is remnant of my build with Gen A, if you guys are familiar. I've been selling a similar kit that is a Super Tech kit that you can rev up to 10,000 RPM. We've done a video where we revved it to 9,800 RPM on a kit like this, and you're going to need it. Great setup. It looks like an ITB, so they went with an ITB as well. I wouldn't have gone with an ITB, to be honest with you, because this doesn't necessarily seem like, unless you do like internal work on the engine block, you're not really going to get the benefits of all this stuff. So it looks like they're putting a lot of outside parts on when you can get the most horsepower internally.
All right.
ITBs. As someone who owns a similar Kinsler ITB, that it's both of the same company. So Drag Cartel, they both get it from the same company. The specs are a little bit different, but they are, this is a Kinsler ITB on K-Series. Yeah, it's like a race-only type thing. I think it's going to be like kind of overkill. Like, you know how you ever heard the thing like you can over-cam an engine? This is like over-intake an engine. Because if they went with like a 60 millimeter too, it's like really overkill for this specific setup. Unless they did major engine upgrades, this is not going to produce the horsepower per dollar that they think it's going to do. It's going to make it.
It's making contact with the stack right here.
We can't get it to come over for. Well, we're definitely doing ITVs, so.
They must have put the money up like. That's kind of the thing too. You want to plan your builds. And this is important because you don't want to be stuck with like $4,000 ITBs like that setup. You don't want to be like, dang, I'm stuck with it. Or you like ordered it and then it took some time. So they sent the money and it takes like some time for you to get it. And then you can't do like, hey, I want to return it. And they're like, nope, you can't return it. And it's like you spent like $4,000 on it. So you have to like try to sell it after. So it's really important that you plan this. You know, sometimes you run into these problems, these issues. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's close to what I expect.
Yeah, ITBs. ITBs are a little bit tricky because if you guys want to know anything about how they tune ITBs, it's not like an intake manifold that has like manifold pressure. You have to do it differently. You have to tune it using a different tuning method. It's called alpha N tuning, and it's throttle position based. The butterflies on the thing like that, it's a lot different. So you're not going to get it to start. I didn't think they were. All I want to see is like the dyno. All right, let's see what it makes.
208 horsepower. Now we're gonna see if we can step it up with the ITBs. Wish us luck. 234. Watch. 234. You stole my number. I said
234.
It was nimble, it was light. Okay, now I gotta know. How much did you make?
On the dyno, she made 230 horsepower.
Wow!
Yeah. To the wheels, right? Like,
That's great. Hell yeah.
Did you believe that? I don't know if I believe that. 230 to the wheels? Underwhelmed. Underwhelmed. I mean, you drop like 15 grand on an engine. 15 grand? Just a little bit underwhelmed, I'm just saying. As a tuner, as an engine builder, I don't really think, but you know, as on the media, they have to be like, yeah, oh my goodness, that's amazing, man. That's a right? They have to do that stuff. But they got bollered out with the Takata and the Recaros and stuff like that, auto power and stuff like that. I don't think it's worth it. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. 230 to the wheels, you put that much money, and they blinged out on the little thumbnail, blinged out intake on your $500 Civic. Yeah, man, I don't know. I could have sworn my Time Attack Civic made more horsepower. It had to. It made more horsepower. I have to review that because it's been so long, but I really want to compare it to this. I mean, I'm pretty sure that car is sweet and it's fast on 230, but you know, with Gen A, with the K20, K24, Gen A put up 300 horsepower. Streetable for this, I mean, obviously that was on different fuel. That's on M1, but on E85, it made 285. So almost like 50 horsepower more than this setup. I would have really imagined like the cam selection, I would have done different. You know, as an engine builder and a Honda car builder, I would have took it in a different direction if I had that amount of money, and I could have, you know, guided it and built it a little bit different. Hats off to them. Obviously, you know, they're like a universal automotive channel, not specifically Honda guys. And if you wanted to beat a new Civic Type R with the power weight to ratio and the turbo, I mean, you could have just boosted this the K20, and then you would have had, you know, a fighting chance. And that would have, like a turbo kit you can get for $3-4 grand, and kept the stock intake manifold, and then didn't have to do all that cutting and stuff like that. Shout out to them and everything that they did, kind of putting a light on Honda scene. Hondas are supposed to be affordable. Hondas are supposed to be, you know, the dollar per horsepower, dollar per fun. You know, spending 50 grand and the car still looks like that. I mean, you give me 50 grand, it'd look immaculate, and it'd be like killer on the track at any type of racing. I'm the guy that's known to make stuff that's like really budget, show a lot of the general public how to have fun and save money. You know, that's what the channel's all about. Performing and working on your own car, you know, putting up a fight, because these cars are economy boxes, guys. They're not made to, you know, compete at that level, but you can if you strategically place the money at the right places. So anyway, guys, I enjoyed this. If you like this video, please like, please subscribe, please comment down below if you want to see more videos like this in the future, or give me video ideas. I appreciate you guys. And also links to my web store, battleboardspeedshop.com, where I sell golden era Honda OEM products and performance products. Yeah. Anyway, guys, until next video, take care. Peace.